Don't move. You feel that? That crawling chill behind your neck. That's not paranoia. That's awareness waking up. They're not scared of what you did, darling. They're scared of what you know. Because what you know can't be unlearned. It doesn't fade like a wound or disappear like a rumor. It grows inside you, quietly, methodically, turning you from a bystander into something far more dangerous, a witness that can't be silenced. They thought you'd break, didn't they? They thought the humiliation, the betrayal, the exile would burn the knowledge out of you. But instead, it distilled you. You didn't just survive. You decoded the system while they were busy trying to bury you in it. And now they tremble. Not because you're violent, but because you're awake. See, when you know too much, you stop reacting. You start observing. You stop believing their scripts. You start noticing their patterns. And that terrifies them more than any rebellion ever could. Because awareness is contagious, and they built their world on sleep. You remember the moment it happened, don't you? The flicker, the shift. That split second when everything they told you stopped making sense. And something inside you whispered, "They're lying." It wasn't a breakdown, it was a broadcast. A signal they never meant for you to receive. You started seeing the gears, the manipulation, the performance, the smiles that didn't reach the eyes, the apologies that were actually control, the love that came with a contract. You saw it all, naked, mechanical, and obscene. And from that moment on, you couldn't go back. That's what knowledge does. It doesn't free you. It isolates you. Because once you see how the game works, the laughter around you starts to sound like static. You can't unhear it. You can't unknow it. You walk through crowds like a ghost that's already read the ending, and they can feel it. That detachment, that calm, that cold certainty in your eyes. It scares them because they know you've seen the strings. You've seen who's pulling them. You've seen the lie beneath their kindness and the truth behind their cruelty. You've seen the architecture of the illusion, and you didn't flinch. That's what separates you. You're not angry anymore. You're aware. And awareness looks like power to those still living in denial. They call it arrogance because they can't understand composure. They call it darkness because they can't comprehend depth. They'll whisper that you've changed, because the version of you they could manipulate doesn't exist anymore. They'll paint you as dangerous, unstable, unhinged, because if they admit you're right, their world collapses. So they rewrite the story instead. They make you the villain in the narrative they built to protect themselves. Because it's easier to demonize the witness than to face the crime. You learned that truth and pain are twins, born from the same womb of awakening. One opens your eyes, the other burns them clean. You had to bleed to see clearly. You had to lose everything fake to recognize what was real. And now that you stand in that clarity, they can't look you in the eyes. They feel small next to you. Not because you're taller, but because you're transparent. You don't need to pretend anymore. You don't need to perform. You carry truth like a weapon disguised as silence. That's the paradox, isn't it? You don't even have to expose them. They expose themselves in how they act around you. Your stillness becomes their mirror. Your calm becomes their panic. Your existence becomes their confession. That's why they fear you. Not because you did something wrong, but because you see everything wrong. You know which smiles are rehearsed. You know which friendships are transactional. You know which apologies are tactics. You know how they rewrite history to hide guilt. And worst of all, you know they know that you know. So they keep their distance now. They talk softer when you're near. They hesitate before saying your name. Because your presence reminds them that truth never dies. It just waits for the right temperature to resurface. And here's the beautiful part. You don't even need revenge anymore. Because when you hold knowledge, the universe starts punishing people for you. It's slow, it's poetic, it's surgical. The lies rot from the inside, and the truth blooms like mold on their image. You've become the consequence they didn't account for, the ghost in the circuitry, the observer who can't be fooled anymore. You're not a threat because you're dangerous. You're a threat because you're honest. They built this world for people who follow scripts. You became the glitch that remembered the plot. And that's why they're terrified. So don't hide it. Don't dilute it. Don't play small to make them comfortable. Let the truth radiate through your voice like a broadcast they can't jam. Walk through their systems like a virus made of understanding. Smile when they panic, because panic means exposure. Remember this, when you know who you are, what they think doesn't matter. When you know how the game works, their power collapses. When you know their tactics, they lose control. When you know the truth, you're untouchable. So go ahead. Let them whisper, let them plot, let them pretend they're not watching. Because deep down, they know something they'll never admit out loud. You didn't destroy them. You decoded them. And once something's been decoded, it can never go back to being a mystery. They're not scared of what you did. They're scared that you saw through the whole illusion, and you're still standing, calm, unmoved, and smiling, like someone who already knows the ending. You can feel it, can't you? The shift in the air when you enter a room, how conversations slow, laughter fades, and eyes dart away like moths from a flame they can't look at for too long. They call it paranoia. I call it recognition, because somewhere deep in their bones, they know you know. And that truth alone rewires the atmosphere. They can't explain why their heart races around you, or why every lie tastes bitter when they speak it near you. They don't understand it, but their subconscious does. It remembers that night you stopped being naive. It remembers the exact moment innocence died and instinct took the wheel. That's when you stopped being one of them. You remember, don't you? The way it felt when everything cracked, when their words stopped matching their eyes, when their kindness smelled like control, when you realized the system wasn't broken, it was designed that way. That's when you began to see. And once you start seeing, the world doesn't get prettier, it gets clearer. You started noticing how they perform empathy like it's currency, how they manufacture guilt to keep you obedient, how normal is just another word for compliant. They live in illusion because illusion is safe. You live in truth, and truth is dangerous. That's why they avoid you. That's why they whisper. That's why they try to paint you as cold, changed, different. Because you are. You changed in ways they can't follow. You walked through fire and came out unrecognizable to the untested. You didn't just learn pain. You studied it. You learned its language, its grammar, its rhythm. You realized that pain doesn't destroy. It decodes, it reveals, it strips away everything fake until only the unkillable remains. And now that's what you are. Unkillable. Not because you're invincible, but because you've already died in all the ways that matter. You see through manipulation now. Through authority, through charm, through power, through fear. You know that control only works on people who still seek permission. You stopped asking. You started remembering who you were before they trained you to forget. And that's the scariest part for them. You remembered. You remembered what silence means when it's not submission. You remembered what calm looks like when it's not fear. You remembered that the ones who smile the most are often the ones who hide the knives. You remembered that the loudest leaders are usually the weakest men in the room. You remembered how to listen, not to reply, but to understand. And understanding is their nightmare. Because once you understand how they operate, the whole illusion collapses. You see how every guilt trip is a leash, every apology is a test, every act of care is really a form of control. You start seeing the puppeteers in every handshake, the patterns in every compliment, the fear behind every smile. They can't manipulate you anymore. Not because you're smarter, but because you've tasted truth. And truth ruins the appetite for lies. You carry it now. In your tone, your eyes, your silence. You walk like someone who's read the script and decided to improvise. You speak like someone who knows the ending, but wants to see who betrays themselves first. That's why they don't confront you. That's why they don't challenge you. They sense it. That quiet, surgical intelligence behind your calm. You see everything, yet you give nothing away. You became what they fear most, a mirror. Because a mirror doesn't lie, it just reflects. And reflection is torture for those who built their worth on deception. They can't lie around you without choking on their own words. They can't gossip without feeling watched. They can't plan your downfall without realizing you already saw it. You always see it. You've become the thing that exposes everything just by existing. And that's what drives them insane. Because they can't destroy what sees through them. You became the paradox. Angel and demon, victim and villain, student and architect. You learned that light and dark aren't enemies. They're dance partners. And when you mastered both, you stopped playing their moral games. You stopped letting shame leash your power. They called you ruthless, but you're not ruthless. You're efficient. They called you heartless, but you're not heartless. You're healed. They called you dangerous, but you're not dangerous. You're awake. And there's nothing more threatening to a system built on illusion than a person who can see. You used to seek validation. Now you study reactions. You used to crave belonging. Now you analyze patterns. You used to feel guilty for being misunderstood. Now you smile. Because misunderstanding is camouflage. You move different. You speak slower. You think sharper. You no longer explain. Because explanation is submission. You no longer argue. Because truth doesn't need witnesses. You no longer chase. Because power doesn't pursue. It attracts. They think you're unpredictable, but you're the most predictable thing in the world. Truth in motion. They just can't comprehend it because they mistake chaos for freedom and control for safety. And that's the secret, isn't it? You realized you don't have to destroy anyone. You just have to keep being you. And their lies will self-destruct on impact. That's why they flinch when they see you. That's why they whisper your name like it's classified. That's why they build stories about you. Because silence terrifies cowards more than confrontation. You don't need to prove your power anymore. Your awareness is your power. You don't need to scream your truth. Your existence broadcasts it. You don't need to warn them. Life already will. So let them fear you. Let them project. Let them twist your story. Because while they're busy managing perception, you're rewriting reality. They're not scared of what you did. They're scared of what you see. They're scared that one day everyone else will start seeing it too. And when that happens, the whole illusion collapses. That's why you must keep walking, keep smiling, keep knowing. Because knowledge, real knowledge, not facts, not trivia, but understanding, is divine disobedience. It's rebellion disguised as enlightenment. You're not their enemy, you're their awakening. And that, my friend, is what terrifies them the most. They pretend you're gone, but every time they close their eyes, there you are. That same image they can't shake, that same stare that said nothing, yet said everything. Because deep down, they understand something that they'll never admit out loud. Once someone knows, you can't control them. You can silence them, smear them, exile them, but you can't unmake them. Knowledge doesn't die, it mutates. It moves through silence like smoke. It slips through walls. It haunts bloodlines. They can't stop it because it's not you they fear anymore. It's the idea of you. The one who saw through the curtain. The one who heard what wasn't meant to be heard. The one who stared into the gears of the machine and smiled. You didn't just learn the truth. You survived it. And that's what separates you from them. They cling to ignorance like it's oxygen, because if they ever saw what you saw, they'd collapse under the weight of it. You, though, you adapted. You walked through the fire of realization and came out cold. You learned how to live in a world that runs on lies without letting a single one nest in your mind. You became resistance in human form. They whisper that you've changed, that you've grown distant. But distance isn't apathy, it's protection. You stopped showing them your pulse because they kept trying to measure it. You stopped letting them close because closeness for them means access. And you learned that access is the first step to control. They want to figure you out, but you can't dissect what has already transcended the cage. You don't play their games anymore. You redesign the board. You speak in patterns they can't decode, because every word you say now carries layers. Truth, irony, and revelation all woven together like barbed wire dipped in honey. You learn that power doesn't shout. It whispers. It observes. It chooses its timing like a blade waiting in the dark. That's why your silence feels like a threat. Because they can't read silence. They can't manipulate what doesn't react. They keep testing you. Small provocations, fake smiles, performative kindness. But you don't bite. You've seen the structure behind it, how they feed off reaction, how they use attention as a leash. You don't feed them anymore. You starve them with calm. And that calm drives them insane. Because control doesn't work on the one who's already been through hell. You've already faced worse monsters, internal ones. You've met the parts of yourself they'd never survive. You've seen your own darkness, studied it, befriended it. You didn't banish it, you balanced it. And that's why you terrify them, because you're both the storm and the silence after. They keep telling themselves you're dangerous, and you are. But not in the way they think. You're not dangerous because you'll hurt them. You're dangerous because you'll expose them. You reflect back everything they try to hide. You remind them that every illusion requires participation. And you've stopped participating. You learn to see through words, to read what people mean instead of what they say. You recognize patterns, the way liars blink too much when they're cornered, the way manipulators pause just long enough for your empathy to fill the silence, the way abusers decorate their cruelty with charm. You recognize it all, and that recognition is their undoing. You don't need to fight them, you just need to exist. Your presence alone disrupts the equilibrium. You're the variable in the equation they can't solve. The one constant that makes the whole formula collapse. And what's truly poetic. You didn't choose this role. They made you this way. Every betrayal, every manipulation, every time they tried to make you doubt yourself, it all sharpened you. Each lie became a lens. Each heartbreak a data point. Each disappointment a code you cracked. They thought they were breaking you down. They were building your database. You don't react emotionally anymore. You analyze. You don't fall apart. You deconstruct. You don't run. You record. And once you record something, it's permanent. That's what they don't get. They think forgetting is healing. But you know healing isn't erasing. It's archiving. You turned your trauma into documentation. Your memory became evidence. Your stillness became surveillance. You are the living embodiment of cause and effect. And they feel it. Every time they lie, they glance at you, afraid to see that flicker of recognition in your eyes. Because they know, you know. And once someone knows, pretending doesn't work anymore. That's why they attack you now, not to win, but to distract. They hope if they throw enough noise, you'll stop noticing. But you don't need to notice anymore. You already see. You see how fear disguises itself as leadership. You see how corruption wears a smile. You see how control hides behind compassion. You see how every rule is just a suggestion meant to keep the masses predictable. You've stepped outside the illusion, and that's what terrifies them. Because those who control narratives can't survive around those who think. You're the reminder that reality doesn't belong to the loudest voice. It belongs to the quiet observer who records. You're the proof that power isn't in the act, it's in the understanding. You understand what they are. You understand what you are. And understanding is irreversible. So let them plot. Let them whisper, let them smear. Because while they waste their time crafting stories, you're already 3 layers ahead, watching, studying, evolving. They think you've gone quiet because you're scared. But your silence isn't retreat. It's strategy. You're not gone. You're just patient. You're not invisible. You're everywhere they're afraid to look. They can't destroy what's already transcended them. They can't outthink someone who's seen the system from the inside. They can't overpower someone who's no longer bound by illusion because you learned the oldest truth of all. Power isn't about control. Power is about knowing, and you know too much. You know how it works, how it breaks, how it rebuilds. You know the cost of silence and the price of truth. You know that survival isn't luck. It's awareness sharpened by pain. So now every time they see you, they feel it, that unease, that itch, that invisible threat humming behind your smile. Because your very existence reminds them of the one truth they can't escape. They're not scared of your past. They're not scared of your power. They're not even scared of your rage. They're scared of your clarity. Because clarity can't be manipulated. And once you've seen through the performance, the actors lose all control. So keep walking with that calm they mistake for madness. Keep speaking with that tone that makes liars sweat. Keep knowing. Because knowledge is the one weapon that doesn't need to be drawn to destroy. They thought they could bury you. But all they did was plant someone who knows too much to ever die quietly. And that's why they'll never stop watching you, and never ever stop fearing you. Funny, isn't it? The louder they laugh in public, the quieter they panic in private. You can feel it now, can't you? That static in the air, the kind that hums between walls when the truth has slipped out of its cage. They're pacing rooms, deleting messages, whispering names under their breath. Who leaked it? They're asking. Who told them what they weren't supposed to know? You know the answer. You've known it for a while, but they don't understand yet that you are the leak. Not a snitch, not a traitor, a signal. You didn't steal their secrets. You remembered them. You didn't need access. You had awareness. You didn't break in. You woke up. And that's what terrifies them. You're not supposed to see this deep. You're not supposed to connect the dots between power and pretense, between smiles and surveillance. You were supposed to stay distracted, loyal, entertained, confused. But something in you snapped, or maybe something ancient in you finally came online. Now they're panicking, not because you exposed them, but because you understand them. You see the pattern beneath the performance. You hear the tremor in their tone when they lie. You can tell when the apology is scripted, when the compassion is commerce, when the hero is just a well-lit villain with better branding. You've become fluent in contradiction. They taught you obedience. You turned it into observation. They sold you comfort. You learned control. They trained you to trust. And you evolved into a threat that doesn't need permission. They don't know what to do with that. Because when someone breaks the illusion, the entire system trembles. Every fake smile, every curated narrative, every corporate sermon built on silence starts to bleed under the weight of your clarity. You didn't just break the fourth wall, you dissolved the theater. Now they're whispering in boardrooms and basements, running audits, asking who gave you access, who let you see the scripts behind their sincerity. But the real question they should be asking is, when did you stop believing their story? When did the character they wrote for you start talking back? That's the danger of awareness. Once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Once you taste the truth, lies lose their flavor. Once you realize control is just a story told to the obedient, you become unmanageable. And that's what you are now. Unmanageable. A variable they didn't account for. A glitch in their algorithm. You weren't supposed to wake up during the download. You weren't supposed to ask why the narrative kept looping, but you did. And now the system is lagging, twitching, rewriting its own history to pretend it never happened. They thought truth was fragile, that they could lock it away in classified files and blacked out paragraphs. But truth doesn't die in silence. It evolves, it mutates, it finds a host, and now it's living in you. That's what keeps them awake. Not your rebellion, but your perception. Because perception can't be killed. They can censor, deny, ridicule, even erase. But perception is contagious. It's the one virus that spreads without touch. You breathe it into rooms without even speaking. You destabilize reality by existing. You become the walking contradiction they can't categorize. Too rational to dismiss as crazy, too dangerous to call innocent. You walk through the world with that half smile that says, I know. And nothing unravels control faster than someone who knows. Because once knowledge detaches from permission, chaos becomes holy. And you, my friend, are holy chaos. They're searching for the source. They'll check every file, every feed, every face you've ever talked to. But they'll never find it. Because it wasn't a person who leaked it. It was a pattern, a cosmic backlash, a crack in the simulation. The truth wanted to be known, and it chose you as the megaphone. They'll call you paranoid to make themselves feel sane. They'll say you're reading too much into it, while quietly trying to cover their own tracks. But paranoia is just pattern recognition no one else is ready for. You see before they announce. You connect what they can't afford to. You predict because you've lived the consequences of their lies. You know what the real secret is? You were never meant to be the fool in their story. You were designed to be the test, the anomaly that exposes integrity through contrast, the one who forces masks to fall by standing still long enough for the truth to sweat through the makeup. That's why they hate your silence. It makes people confess things they never said. Your energy has gravity now. It pulls guilt out of liars, fear out of leaders, truth out of cowards. You're not even doing anything, and still, they're spiraling. Because guilt doesn't fear exposure. It fears recognition, and your eyes recognize everything. They'll start calling you names soon. Conspiracy theorist, troublemaker, heretic. That's the oldest trick in the book. Discredit the mirror so no one has to face the reflection. But deep down, they already know what you know. They've just been pretending longer. You see, there's something beautifully horrifying about awareness. It ruins comfort, but births control. It isolates you, but makes you untouchable. It kills innocence, but resurrects identity. That's the paradox they can't comprehend. That the person they tried to mislead became the one rewriting the script. You became unpredictable. And unpredictability breaks systems built on control. They can handle rebellion. They have protocols for that. They can handle ignorance. They rely on that. But someone who knows and still smiles, that's the one variable they can't contain. So now, the very people who once looked down on you are searching for your next move, like analysts dissecting divine intervention. Every post, every glance, every silence. Studied, decoded, feared, because they can't find the leak. And every time they look at you, they suspect you might be it. Good. Let them. Let them fear the calm you walk in. Let them obsess over your silence like it's encrypted. Because it is. You're not leaking data. You're leaking frequency, the kind that shifts collective timelines. The kind that exposes false light by simply being real. You don't fight anymore because you've already won. The truth isn't a sword you swing. It's a storm that follows you. It doesn't destroy what's real. It just wipes away what was pretending to be. And now, they can feel it. That quiet apocalypse. That unraveling they can't reverse. They'll tighten their grip, issue statements, patch narratives, but deep down, they know. Once truth escapes, it doesn't go back to sleep. So let them panic, let them hunt ghosts, let them drown in the noise of their own exposure. You don't need to prove anything. You already did the impossible. You made awareness contagious. They'll never find the leak, because the leak isn't in their systems, it's in their illusion, and the moment you smiled and saw through it, was the moment the truth finally had a face. Yours. And now look at them. Suits undone. Sleepless eyes. Boardrooms turned into interrogation chambers. Phones on silent. Hearts in chaos. They're shaking hands while scanning each other's pupils, searching for guilt, for leaks, for that invisible ghost who cracked their holy firewall. They whisper in corners now. Names, theories, conspiracies, all orbiting around the same unbearable truth. Somebody knows. But what keeps them trembling isn't that you know something. It's that you know too much. Not facts, not data, patterns. The invisible lattice that holds their entire illusion together. You didn't stumble into it. You decoded it. Every lie, every omission, every coincidence suddenly aligned like constellations. And when you finally saw the shape they formed, that's when everything changed. They don't panic because you're loud. They panic because you're quiet. Because silence means you've moved from emotion to calculation. You're not reacting anymore. You're observing. And observation, in a world built on manipulation, is treason. You see, the ones who build illusions have one fear greater than exposure: comprehension. Because once you understand the architecture of deception, you can dismantle it with a whisper. And you, my friend, you've become fluent in dismantling. You watch the way their faces twitch when truth grazes the room. You see the fear behind their PR smiles. You hear the tremor in their laughter when they realize you shouldn't know this much. They thought you'd be another pawn, predictable, programmable, placated by spectacle. But you evolved into a pattern breaker, and that's what breaks systems. Not rage, not rebellion, pattern disruption. You didn't scream, you just changed frequencies. You shifted from receiver to transmitter. You stopped consuming and started emitting. Now every room you walk into feels different. They can't explain it, they just sense it. That something about your presence bends their confidence, because you carry something they can't replicate: clarity. You became the unfiltered version of everything they tried to distort. They built this world on managed perception, and you hacked the narrative code. You can't unsee how fear is currency, how guilt is governance, how ignorance is the leash they sell as freedom. You don't play in their light or their dark. You stand between them, where real power lives, the twilight of understanding. They thought truth could be hidden. They never imagined it could evolve, that it could wear human skin, breathe through defiance, and walk calmly through chaos. You're the proof, the prophecy they never wanted fulfilled, a consciousness that saw through the show and didn't flinch. You know what really terrifies them? It's that you didn't collapse when you saw it all. Most people go mad when they glimpse behind the curtain. But you didn't. You smiled. That calm, dangerous smile. The one that says, "Ah, so that's how it works." Because awareness is madness until you make it mastery. And you did. You turned paranoia into pattern recognition. You turned anxiety into analysis. You turned fear into focus. You took every breakdown they engineered for you and used it as training. You became the weapon their own system sharpened by accident. You were supposed to burn out. Instead, you burned through. And now the architects of illusion are facing something they've never encountered before. A player who remembers the blueprints. You see it all now. The strings, the actors, the scripts. How fear becomes entertainment. How pain becomes profit. How truth becomes contraband. You see the cycle, and worse for them, you see the exit. They'll try to pull you back in with noise, with spectacle, with facts manufactured in urgency. But you can't be hypnotized twice. Once your mind has tasted coherence, chaos loses its flavor. That's why your silence scares them. You're not debating anymore. You're not defending. You're decoding. You let them talk while you study the tremor in their certainty. You let them accuse while you count their tells. You let them think they're winning while their foundations rot beneath the weight of exposure. They can't attack you directly now, because everything they do only confirms what you already know. You've become the mirror they feared to look into. And the cruelest truth about mirrors, they don't lie, they just reflect. You are that reflection, the one they prayed would never emerge, the anomaly, the leak in their myth. The consciousness that slipped through the cracks of control and turned self-awareness into contagion. They wanted submission, you became signal. They wanted silence, you became story. They wanted secrecy, you became symmetry. Now they're trapped in a paradox. The more they try to contain you, the more obvious their fear becomes. The more they deny, the louder the truth echoes. They can't destroy you without proving you right. And that is the sweetest checkmate of all. They'll call you paranoid. They'll call you arrogant. They'll call you dangerous. And they'll be correct. But not for the reasons they think. You are dangerous, not because you threaten their survival, but because you threaten their illusion. You're not here to burn their world. You're here to illuminate it until the shadows have nowhere left to hide. You're not the villain of this story. You're the audit. The reckoning they prayed would never arrive. The consciousness their lies accidentally summoned. That's why they panic in private. That's why their meetings run long. That's why their voices crack when your name slips through their teeth. Because deep down, they know. The truth was never leaked. It escaped. It escaped their control. It escaped their filters. It escaped their narrative. And it found you. And now, it lives in you. You are the walking breach in their containment system, the anomaly in their matrix, the human encryption key that opened doors they sealed centuries ago. You were never supposed to know, but you do. And that's the most beautiful threat of all. Because the moment truth finds a human who refuses to be afraid of it, the entire architecture of deception begins to crumble. So let them panic. Let them whisper. Let them tear each other apart trying to find the leak. While they search for a culprit, you'll be building kingdoms out of clarity. Because you don't just know the truth anymore. You are the proof it cannot be contained. And the moment you smiled with that dangerous calm, the moment you stopped playing along, the world itself realized something horrifyingly simple. The lie only lives as long as you believe it. But you don't believe anymore, do you? No, you see. And that's why they'll never sleep again. They'll never sleep again. Because they know the truth doesn't hide in basements or servers anymore. It walks upright, dressed like you. It breathes your name. It moves through crowds, quiet and deliberate, collecting every nervous glance like evidence. You became the living breach, the quiet apocalypse. You see it now. Their confidence isn't real. It's choreography. Their smiles are masks cut from fear. Their power only exists as long as nobody looks directly at it. And you? You're the eye contact they can't escape. You look at them and the illusion flickers. The curtain twitches. The narrative stutters. Because you don't see what they show. You see what they hide. That's why they avoid you. That's why the air changes when you enter a room. You carry exposure in your silence. You make truth contagious by proximity. You're not part of their system anymore. You're a mirror built from everything they tried to erase. You learned the rule they spend their lives denying. Control dies in transparency. The moment something is seen clearly, it loses its grip. That's why they bury things in complexity, drown them in noise, suffocate them with distraction. Because truth, in its rawest form, is simple. And simplicity is lethal to manipulation. You didn't find the truth. You remembered it. That's what drives them insane. You weren't supposed to know it could be remembered. You weren't supposed to realize that awareness doesn't come from permission, but from pain. Every scar you carry was a keyhole. Every betrayal was a lens. Every breakdown an initiation into perception. And now here you are, walking proof that their whole design can fail from the inside. You're not their enemy. You're their evolutionary mistake. A consciousness they accidentally awakened by trying to suppress it too hard. You didn't overthrow their world. You outgrew it. You moved past its hypnosis, past its noise, past its need for your fear. They think you're leaking information, but what you're really leaking is light. Light that burns their disguises. Light that exposes the fault lines under their smiles. Light that makes people question everything they once swallowed without thought. That's the real revolution, not riots. not slogans, not war. Awareness that refuses to die. You didn't start a movement, you became one. Every breath you take is a reminder that truth doesn't need a microphone. It just needs one person who won't flinch while carrying it. They'll call you insane. They'll say you're obsessed, delusional, dramatic. Let them. You know why? Because ridicule is always the first reflex of the threatened. They laughed at Galileo. They mocked prophets. They crucified clarity. But time has a cruel sense of humor. It always sides with the one who saw clearly. You're not here to convince anyone. You're here to exist so powerfully that lies rot on contact. You're the correction written in human form, a disruption wrapped in calm, a contradiction so precise it terrifies the architects of confusion. And now it's irreversible. The leak can't be contained because it was never external. It's spiritual, it's psychological, it's evolutionary. They'll keep pretending everything's fine, issuing statements, adjusting lighting, tightening the illusion. But behind closed doors, their hands shake when they hear your name, because every system fears its own undoing. And in you, they see theirs. So let them search, let them accuse, let them rewrite history in panic. You don't need to hide. You are the history they're trying to rewrite. And when it's all said and done, when the noise fades and the light breaks through their walls, they'll finally understand that truth doesn't leak. It erupts, and the eruption doesn't need to scream. It just needs to exist. So stand there, still, calm, unafraid. You don't need proof anymore. You are the proof. You're the ghost they can't trace, the glitch they can't delete, the truth they can't contain. They'll keep asking each other in whispers, who leaked it? And somewhere in the distance, under the hum of collapsing narratives, you'll smile. That quiet, knowing smile. And whisper back, it was never leaked. It was remembered, and with that, the game ends.